It is almost a month ago that Walt sent me this wood. And yeah, I haven't done anything with it, but the only thing I've done is I've transferred the hardware to little packages here. This one's for the salt, this one's for the pepper. And now Walt has glued these ones together, and these ones here I'm going to have to glue together. Now, when I went to Kelowna to see my mom last week, what I should have done before I left is to glue these together so that you know, they'd be ready to use right now. Now I'm noticing that they're already the grain is running the proper way. I don't know if Walt deliberately did that or not, but he's got it, you know, the same way I would have done it. So I am noticing though that they aren't perfectly flat. There's a little bit of twist going on there that I'm going to have to plane out. And it'll give me an excuse to show you something on the jointer that possibly some people don't know. When you're passing something short like this, and I call this short, over the jointer, it can actually be rather dangerous if you don't do it right. Anyway, one of the reasons why I haven't been doing anything much in my shop here, at least not on the woodworking part of it, is because I was welding up a base for my industrial strength car warmer here, and doing a lot of work outside so that I can properly plug this into my car. Anyway, that's another story. I'm not going to get into it. So, but just in case you were wondering. Now also, just in case you were wondering, I live up here in Canada, in Winnipeg, as a lot of you already know. Now this wood came from way down in North Carolina, here. And my mother in Kelowna lives way over here, just in case you were interested. When I was over visiting my mom in Kelowna, we spent a lot of time watching the news. And the big thing in the news, well, one of the big things was the weather in the Atlantic and these hurricanes that are coming in. And I couldn't help but notice that North Carolina is sort of on the edge of it. You must have had torrential rain there, at least, if nothing else. Walt, let us know. How did you make out? We're thinking of you. Us woodworkers got to stick together. Well, you can see I've indexed the wood here so I can get it back together exactly the same way. Now, I don't need to plane the top or the bottom. I only need to plane the surfaces that are going to be glued together. Like this one, this one, this one, and this one. Now I'm blocking this open so that I can better demonstrate what I'm talking about when I say it's kind of dangerous to put a short piece through. Here's a short piece that I use on my drill press, just a piece of scrap. And I'm going to try and demonstrate what can happen. Get this piece of metal off of here. I'm not going to actually do it, I just want to show you what can happen. Now, let's assume that you were going along and you accidentally rocked forward. And be careful not to cut myself here. So it rocks forward on you and it catches. Then what can happen is, in fact what will happen, this will shoot out like this. This will go down into the cutter, or could. Then this piece could all of a sudden disappear and your hand goes down into the cutter. Now, chances are it wouldn't happen like that, but chances are it could. So that's why you don't put a short piece over your jointer. Well, I guess I suppose a person could put something like this over if you were like super careful, but I wouldn't do it. This is about as short as I want to get. And what I'm going to do, and you won't be able to see me doing it, but let's say we're going to do this one right here. First of all, I'm going to look at the grain and it sort of tapers down this way. So that means that I'm going to want to put it through this way, not this way. And that way the grain isn't going to dig in, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to pass it over. Another thing, make sure that this is clean. You don't want any sawdust built up on it because it's not going to stick as good. Now, I do have a problem with this jointer catching right here. If there's anything bad I have to say about it, it's this. I don't know why they put that there. It must be for some sort of attachment. But what will sometimes happen is, as it's going through, it'll catch right there. So instead of, like this piece here, instead of having it up against the fence, I might have it out a little bit, and I'll let the push stick right against the fence. And what I'm going to do is, at first, you won't be able to see it, but I'll be pushing down mainly on the back. Then after the leading edge gets on the outfeed table, then I'm going to be pushing mainly on the front. And while you're pushing on the front, for goodness sakes, don't let it come back, because it'll dig in and what will happen is what I just said. Anyway, then I'll go the rest of the way, sort of pushing like this. Now, the reason for that is it's going to keep it flat, and it's going to make sure that it doesn't just follow the twist all along. Another thing you don't want to do is, if you have something twisted, don't be pushing down real hard, because when you're pushing down, it will straighten the twist, and then as soon as you release your pressure, it's just going to go back again, and all you're going to have is a piece of wood that is still twisted, just thinner. Anyway, we'll see what happens here. And I'm going to adjust my in-feed table here so that it's just barely taking any off, maybe a 64th of an inch, and that's all. Well, clearly the last time I used this machine, I wanted about a 16th of an inch depth of cut, which is usually a lot more than I normally want. So let's just change it here so that it's almost up to the zero. Now, there's something that I want to say right now while we're watching this, and that is that if you have been taught by, say, a shop teacher in high school, and he has shown you a different way to do this, for goodness sakes, do it his way. I am a self-taught woodworker. I get a machine, I see how it works, I figure out what can go wrong, and I sort of adjust myself accordingly. So I'm showing you this the way I would do it. But it's possible there's a better way. So like I say, if you've been taught by a professional to do it differently, for goodness sakes, do it his way. Best I can remember is I gave it one more pass, and then I did the other 3 surfaces exactly the same way. Now, this is actually the very first time that I've checked this out, so I hope I'm not going to end up being embarrassed here, because you know Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will, especially when the camera's running. Now, maybe there weren't cameras when Murphy was alive, but anyway, let's see what we got here now. There is absolutely no give whatsoever. I mean, no play. The twist is completely gone. So when I get the glue in between here and here, and squeeze it up with the clamps, I'll know that there's not going to be any voids. And it's nice and smooth. That jointer does a really good job. Do you know I haven't even turned the cutters even once yet on the cutting head there. You can turn them up to 3 times. In other words, you can use 4. There's four surfaces on it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. And here we go. Now this one I have to do on both sides. I may be putting too much on, but as I've said before, better too much than too little. You know what? I think I'd probably put a little more on yet. Okay, now I'll get my indexing right here. That's number 3. That's number 1. Well, we'll see what we got in the morning.